Okay, we're clear.
That's a good one. Welcome back. Do you prefer I call you Stefan or Tank?
Oh, thanks, fine. Thanks, fine.
Okay, yeah, wasn't sure because yeah, so it might be like when you're incognito, right? Yeah, out in the world, yeah, or
It's an old nickname. It just kind of stuck, so
yeah.
it's fine.
When I started my YouTube channel, I picked a name on YouTube or on Google because you get a Google email account to get your YouTube channel, and it was Abundance Mind Project. So Abundance Mind. So basically, people thinking out of abundance. But when I went ahead and filled out all the information, asked for my name, and of course, it named my channel not what my email is, but it named it what my name is. So my channel is Dan Lutz and not Abundance Mind Project. But that was what I was going for. But I was not trying to be anonymous. And of course, all the stuff with the QAnon that's come up, everyone is looking at being there's a lot of anonymous out there and a lot of that are not anonymous. But I've never been anonymous.
Right. For a while with Tank, I was kind of anonymous. I was just in a chat room and I didn't know what was going on. So, but Tank was like a nickname I had from wrestling in college, so just kind of, I had it for a long time. But so, people know me as Tank, or it doesn't matter. But, it's weird. I don't believe in being incognito about anything anymore. Really. I think that's kind of like how they hurt people, right? You have all these incognito names.
They do everything from the shadows, right? They're like cockroaches, right? In the shadows, they come out and they do everything. When you turn on the light, they all scurry away. So this is about turning on all the lights. And I guess some of the lights are that we need to turn on is on Manna World Holding Trust, right? And Kim, and say, hey, this is what's going on. And I sent you the message because I listened to your blog, your latest one on the Speak Project, that it was you were kind of upset by what was going on. So I thought maybe we'd talk about that and what the situation is, because we need to focus people's attention on these things so that they know what's going on.
Yeah. So basically. So if you take it back to what happened, so President Trump was given some bad advice, is what I was told. Okay. And in that, he basically traveled. Now, we advised him, or Manna advised him, Kim and others, Thomas, they advised President Trump not to go to Vietnam, because the plan in Vietnam was for the Rothschild cabal, dragon family network, the evil empire, to seduce him, bribe him, threaten him, blackmail him, any combination of those things, right? And the goal was to get him to go there. And in these vaults, in these 3 different vaults in Vietnam, there was allegedly these $27 trillion in of counterfeit Federal Reserve notes, super notes, which those super notes have been brought into circulation through Wells Fargo. And so these super notes, there's actually, amazingly, I found apparently the reason why this is a little bit speculation, but Kim Jong-un in North Korea, they had printed up a bunch of these counterfeit notes, right? So I think that's why he was there. Now, I haven't confirmed that, but I think that's what the deal was. The real deal was for President Trump to sign off on these super notes, thus bringing them into circulation, right? And if I was going to speculate, I'd say that would have made him look like a hero, right? He would have brought back all this wealth. But people wouldn't have known that. It just would have kind of infused into the population, I guess. And then probably he would have struck a deal with Kim Jong-un to, denuclearize or something, right? That probably was what the show was going to be. That's the impression I got, right? And then maybe Trump was negotiating some kind of terms with that, thinking he could get, he'd be the greatest president in history, right? To get in North Korea, this mystic, mysterious cosmic superpower, right? that this evil place, to get them to denuclearize, like it would have been a legacy, I guess. But that's all speculation. That part. What I do know is he was actually supposed to sign off, though. Okay, so so he was supposed to sign off on these and bring them into the country, like into circulation, right? Because his signature would have given those notes some validation, but they were all counterfeit. Now, I've been telling people this for a year.
Counter,
All of these
counterfeit meaning that the numbers that there are were like reused numbers.
correct, right?
Okay.
So all of the real allocated registered currency comes out from the M1 level, right? So there's only one person on the planet who is still there at the M1 level, and that's Kim. So for the asset to back, because all the assets are registered in the trust. So for the currency to actually be backed by that, it has to come down from the trust. So that's why the Federal Reserve has not issued any new currency, new allocation numbers, anyways. They've printed up a bunch of counterfeit currency, which is already in the system, but they haven't issued any new allocations since 2012, I believe. So last Monday, Kim actually brought in the first new allocation numbers of new currency since 2012. So
Yeah, I heard that. So when she brought in those assets, that was the first real money that was brought in. And how much was it that she brought in?
I didn't get the number on that as far as what she brought in most recently. I'm not sure. I mean, like before, I knew she brought in $375 billion into Citibank and Wells
Right.
Fargo, respectively, and but I'm not sure what the last batch is on Monday. I didn't get that number. But with Trump, so he was over there, and I guess he was supposed to sign off on this. Now, my hope was that this was all a big show, because I've been telling people for the past year that all of these vaults that people have been in, like yourself, right, like that have gone in and seen the assets held in these various vaults.
I haven't seen
Now,
those. I've heard of that cash in those vaults in Vietnam. I also heard about stuff that was in Laos,
yes, yep,
and and so, but I've never seen any of that. I've seen pictures of pallets of cash that were uh, in China. Yeah, that were also in the same. They were on the older bills that were you couldn't. Wasn't easy to bring them into the system to be used because they were the older numbers,
right.
and they claim them.
Well,
They'll claim those to be also counterfeit. You know.
hmm, yeah. From what I understand, I mean, this number is kind of alarming, but Kim just told me this, that about 80% of all of the um, paper currency, USD at least, and I'm sure that applies to other currencies as well, but definitely USD, is counterfeit right now. That's in the system, because that's how they stay afloat, right? They've been bringing in fake money because they haven't had access to the assets since 2007.
Right.
So my hope is, though, but a lot of this, it was hard for people to believe because they've been in these vaults, and you know, and they know somebody who has access, and they swear by it. So to have Trump go over there and have the Secret Service go and check these vaults, and they were empty, because there is underground tunnels that no one else has access to except for you know Kim, and she's been moving the assets to where they belong on the planet, and then she's been reassigning the allocation numbers on the currency to change everything. So you know it would take 1,000 years and 100,000 people to try to figure that out now, because so they can't just claim they have control of the assets anymore, because they don't even know where they are. They don't even know how they're kept. So they can't even figure out. And then it's Kim's DNA that opens the vaults. So they can't even. So this one, I'm sure must have had another access point, but to get the real access to how she moved them, from what I understand, they didn't even know they were empty. I mean, why would they make that deal if they
Right.
didn't? So they hadn't been in the vaults in years, and they went in the vaults and they're empty. And it's like, I told you, I told you they're empty. So that's why when Trump, now again, this is a little bit of speculation, but it makes sense, is that when President Trump came back, he's like, there was no deal. There's no deal to sign, right? Well, there's no deal because the deal had something to do with the currency, right? And there's no currency, so there was no deal, right? Now, the reason why this current situation infuriates me, right, is there is no secret anymore. Anybody in the know is very aware. And I don't think it's limited to the small cluster we're used to. I think it's expanded at this point. I think it's very common knowledge, right? That there is a depopulation agenda, right? That's being driven by, you know, the United Nations Security Council, which is run by the Rothschilds, right? The Rothschilds they fraudulently hold 6 seats. And I say Rothschilds, I'm generically speaking about members of the order. But they hold 6 seats on the United Nations Council that actually belong to the Manna World Holding Trust, because the Manna World Holding Trust is the unknown country that established the entire United Nations, right? Matter of fact, in my own speculation, it's the unknown UN known country.
Oh, there you go.
And that's talking about the whole. That's the idea of bringing this collective one world government, right? Which in reality, it's always, every government has always been governed by the same body, always. So, but the idea is the United Nations, really, the head of the United Nations technically is the trust as its own entity, which is one and the same with Kim. So technically, she is the head of the United Nations. And the proof of that is the United Nations just came out just about 6 months ago and they said they were broke. They don't have any money. So it's, what you were talking about earlier. I'm curious. I know that, and it's really tough to distinguish with these things, right?
Yeah.
Because there's the United Nations, which is groups of people around the world working for world
Doing
peace,
good things. Yeah.
doing amazing things. And I hesitate to even say these things sometimes because I don't want people to get the wrong impression. I don't want to take away from any of those people's efforts, But then there's the United Nations Security Council that meets up at the evil lair of the Rothschilds, wherever it is, right? And they sit around and plot how they're going to take down the world. Now that's very real. But the biggest one, the scariest one, is in September of 2017. And you can see how these two things match up, right? In September of 2015 or 16, whenever the Pope was in New York at the United Nations, they got up and said they were going to abolish poverty by 2030. That was the advancement of Agenda, 21 to 2030. Mm-hmm. And what they were saying, and this is why that crazy Congresswoman Alexandria
Cortez.
Cortez, when she said, if we don't do something about global warming, the world's, we're all going to be dead in 12 years. Well, the reason why she said that is 12 years is 2030, right? So she is ignorantly spouting off because she doesn't have a clue what's really going on, but she doesn't realize, because the whole idea is they have till 2030 to depopulate to a number that is manageable, right? That's part of the agenda. So, but anyways, so when they said they were going to abolish poverty, that's what they meant. They were going to kill the impoverished, which is all of us. All of us have essentially, anybody, who's not in their racket is basically, just lower life that is impoverished. So, but in 2017, when Kim was really starting to understand the full scope of her role, the previous comptroller had been eliminated, and all of the people at that higher level were gone. I think 154 people or so were all gone. The Rothschilds.
Where did they go?
They all died the same day, in the same. And the way it was described to me is it was a massacre. Basically, what happened is they attacked. They attacked, and because they attacked Kim and her people, they were all eliminated that day. And that's pretty well documented, by the way. I mean, I have that direct. You could probably ask your CIA from that one. He might know about it.
Well, if there's no, he was eliminated.
Oh,
at the start of, he was everyone in his inner circle believes that he was eliminated. He had a massive heart attack in the Salt Lake City airport, which he did not have a heart condition. right? And he
Understood,
was on his way. I spoke with him the night before, and we had a very close connection as I spent a lot of time with him for 3-4 years. And he was the one that really clued me in on what was going on with the historical assets, right? Because he used to deal with them, and how he actually got into trouble with the cabal was because while moving the assets, he ended up saying, well, I've got some access to some assets. So he went and accessed them. And,
oh, right.
and then that got him into hot water, and they basically made him invisible to the system. You know, no Social Security number, no money. The money that was in the Knights of Malta was just gone, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
all of these things, but when he started getting back into it, he was warned by George Bush Sr. to stay out of it by yelling secondhand on the phone. Someone who was talking to him directly, George was in the back yelling and telling him he got to stay out of this stuff, or that was it. Well, he didn't stay out, and that's why. And the similar thing is that when I first approached him about it, he said he's got to stay away from it. There was someone else that he had talked to and said, yeah, there is something going on. And this was in 2014, about the beginning of 2014. And yeah, there's something going on, but we can't get involved. But the guy that did get involved, that was an attorney, and was one he had used for a lot of these things, he ended up dying of a massive heart attack in an airport. So,
of course, right? Because one prick with a fentanyl and people will die from,
So
all they have to do is walk by you and brush you with something. You're done.
Yeah, a little swab across the hand or whatever, and you're gone. So, and he was he actually had just recovered from a previous poisoning attempt.
Really? Wow.
That I was with him, and this was when we were doing a deal in China. We were going to help the country of Mozambique develop their natural resources, and we were brought in as a way to balance out the power of China, where China would provide all the money for us to develop the natural resources, but we would manage all the projects. And it's because they didn't want to get involved with China, what they did with the Congo, which was, build a whole city and not use one labor or any of the people from the Congo. They brought them
I know. I just had I had a project this week, and they called me up and they were telling me about this, and they were talking about all the money they were going to make, all the money I would make, and I'm like, I think you have a misunderstanding about what we're doing here. They talked about this amazing island, these 3 resorts they were going to build, 6 Hard Rock cafes, which I immediately thought, like, I really believe in creativity, and when you start talking about 6 Hard Rock cafes, you already lost me. But
maybe one,
maybe one Hard Rock cafe, and maybe like you're in the. But you know what he never mentioned? He mentioned the Bahamian, the island in the Bahamas. He never mentioned the Bahamian people, not once. I was like, you know what, we're not interested. So.
That's you can tell right away what the focus is about, right?
Right. Like, talked about bringing in a German construction company so we can see what was going on at all times. I'm like, so you have an island that's being overpopulated because there's genocide in Haiti. So Nassau is completely overpopulated because all the Haitians are fleeing. You have all this need. The island's essentially impoverished, and the one thing these people do have is skills. They have incredible skills in construction, and I'm sure there's lots of little construction companies you can put to work to build anything. But you're going to bring in a whole group of Germans. I'm like, great. Nailed that one. Yeah.
It's one thing to bring in people that are going to teach the people there on the ground, right? Teach the man to fish, right?
Right.
If they don't, but if they don't have the knowledge, but if they know, you don't want to supplant the people that are there, and they should have the benefit because it's their country. they're the ones that are living there. It's not for the foreigners to jump in and steal away everything. I mean, the project, I was explaining to you the project I have working on in Samoa, which is very close to getting to the point where we have all our approvals. And we're dealing, and again, with that power plant system that I was telling you about, and we're even tying that into the abundance mine, Bitcoin mining, as a way to bring the cost of electricity down to where it's free, because you're paying it in Bitcoin, because we're generating Bitcoin alongside as regular power. So, but going into there, we're looking at, well, how are we going to help Samoa? We're talking about 2 areas, 2 resort areas, and a city in between, and then how we're going to connect them and build a infrastructure for the place. Now, if they don't have the right, as part of the list of questions that they're taking with them, as what do they have there? What are the resources on the island that we can use to build this? Right. This is one of the questions. We want to know what you have, so we know what we have to bring in from outside.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, that's smart. That's considerate. It's a considerate project, right? Like you're building, like around the people, like what they should benefit them, right? It shouldn't just be like people look out their window and they're building a highway through their yard.
One moment.
Sure, no problem.
Hello. All right, sorry for that little interruption. My wife was calling me. So where were we?
You were talking about your project in Samoa and how you were working with the Samoan people, or how you were considering the Samoan people and what they had first before you moved past it.
Right, and that's what you want to evaluate and be good stewards of the land of all the resources. So you want to also, that the part of the resources is the people involved there on the ground, right? Those people there have to be considered on what they're going to be able to contribute to what is going to help them move ahead, right? And I think having a consideration for all the aspects when you're going to a place that's not well developed. You have to consider everything from the infrastructure to education, right? Educating the people there on the ground that they may not be up to speed on microwave antennas and relaying information, or fiber optics, or I'm also dealing with polyurethane construction materials, which are resistant to a lot of the problems that wood have, right? So if you can create out of this, you're also not cutting down trees. So, this is what we have to consider. But these kind of projects are things that we need to be focused on around the world. And I guess that's why when I was dealing in Mozambique, and that's how we kind of got around on that topic. And my friend who was there in the CIA, Ralph, it was me, another friend of mine, Brooks, and another friend, David. We were the 4 that came in to help them because Ralph was on the board of directors of a engineering firm in South Africa. And they needed a team of people that would be able to help them and not take advantage of them. So that was their prerequisite. So we ended up making a deal with the general, the revolutionary general, who turned the whole country communist from the 70s until the 90s. In the 90s, he said, "Nope, we're capitalists now."
It's amazing when I hear about some of these stories. I'm like, is it that easy? I mean, because it seems that way in the United States. They're just trying to basically say, like, we were founded as a republic, and then all of a sudden we're a democracy, and now I think the goal is to be a republic, but at least for some of us, and then the other half wants us to be a socialist part. It's crazy.
Well, crazy. The appeal of socialism, there's a great appeal to it, right? Because it very much mimics what you might, the feeling might be in a family situation, right? When everybody's a family. But it really doesn't work that way when you're not all in the family. Right? You have different families, right? And so then, so it's, the ideal there is okay, but in practice, all it does is end up removing all of the assets from the people and giving them to a small group of people to oversee them. The parents, you might say.
Well, it's the same principle, you know. Yes, the parents would be, but it's the same way they do with a meritocracy. You know, people love the meritocracy. It sounds so romantic and wonderful, right? Hey, look, we are going to reward people based on merit, right? And that, in and of itself, sounds great. But the question that no one ever asks, who decides what has merit, right? Now, if we just, you know, I can decide that, you know, how far you can throw a cannonball is what has merit, right? Now, like, your most intelligent people might not be involved, right? Like, so who ends up being rich? You're, you know, and that's what they're doing, you know. And I went after Jared Rand about this because, you know, he was waxing poetic about the meritocracy. I'm like, according to who? You know, and all that is, the meritocracy system is just, you know, it's the elite, you know, the wealthy elite who aren't part of the bloodline. You know, that's all it is.
Yeah, we've
That's
got
crazy.
merit.
Yeah, we've got merit. You know, we'll tell you it's what has merit. You know, it's like, okay, great. You know, now all this stuff, man, it's amazing. You know, we have a very specific system with Create Change that I've been telling people from day one is wherever you go with any project is you have to go in and do a needs assessment. And that needs assessment has to be considerate of the culture that currently exists there. You know, the last thing the world needs is a bunch of, you know, do-gooder white people showing up and taking over an area and saying, "Here's what we're going to do," right? Nobody needs that. You know, the Bahamas, they don't need another, you know, tourist vacation resort. You know what they could use on that same exact island though? We could put, you know, probably 6 or 7 biodomes that would create enough food, not only for them, for all of them, and all of Haiti as well, and they'd have, you know, a gross domestic product that's actually producing for the first time, instead of just bringing things in. Imagine, you know, I mean, like we could do something like that for less money, a lot less money than we could build, you know, 3 resorts and not provide jobs and not provide food at all. There's so many better ways to do everything. I feel like but people don't think about the people; they think about money. So half the project, you know, 50% of every person that calls me with a project, what I know we're not going to work with them because they start out by talking about how much money, how profitable it is, and that's all they're talking about. And I'm like, I'm not going to make any money off you. You know, I'm going to give you the money and we're going to help you be successful with it and base it on the mission. But if all you're trying to make is money, it's hard to make a difference if you're worried about is making money.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. It's money is just a tool, and you have to, you know, I've had this philosophy that I would tell people, and I said, you know, I've been really deep in with a lot of people that had a lot of money, you know, and I've seen them use money, and some use it wisely, some don't, but I had this philosophy I started saying is, it's good that you want to make money, right? And if you have a fantastic technology and you want to be able to do really good things with it, you just don't want to get Tesla'd. You don't want to not have the money in your control because you are the one that actually can make something happen for the betterment of it. So you have to have the money, but if their goal is the money, then that's the wrong goal. Right, you're on the. I guess it's down to this whether you're doing it for yourself or you're doing it for others. Service to self or service to others, right? And if you have the service to others,
you know, even that term drives me crazy. First of all, anybody saying service for others, like all of these catch terms they've worked in there, right? Service to self versus service to others. First of all, you cannot serve anybody else if you don't take care of yourself.
sure.
That's number one.
Oh yeah.
So it'd be better. You know what? The first thing everybody should do who has a heart to do something good, take care of yourself, and don't feel guilty about it. That's the other thing. You know, people, they give so much of themselves until they're completely diminished. But it should be, speaking of Tesla, it should be alternating current, right? It should be moving in and flowing out. And the first person you got to take care of is yourself. But that's just me, because these terms that they get ingrained.
I hear
and they've tried to shame people for,
Sure.
because they
Sure.
want to take care of themselves. Like I tell people all the time when they call me, they'll try to manufacture their project to something they think I want to hear. This woman called me up. She goes, and she had this project and it was a great idea. And I go, where do you want to do it? And she goes, she's like Chicago, Oklahoma City, or Charlotte. I'm like, what are you talking about? Didn't you build this project around a real need that already exists that you know about? And she didn't. She didn't know where she wanted to do the project. So, and she didn't know what I wanted to hear. I'm like, you know what I want to hear? I want to hear about where you live and what you know from your experience these people need, right? Because those people you can help because you live there, right? Like when you live in these areas and you're experiencing what they're going through, you know what they need. But people aren't attached to it, so they're just trying to manufacture something that fits in. And the service for self thing is a perfect example. Like people keep dropping, and I'm not picking on you for dropping that phrase, but I always hear that phrase, like service to self versus service to others. It's not a versus. First of all, it shouldn't be a versus. Now, if you are only service to self and all you want to do is push everybody down to make yourself look bigger, well, you don't go up anymore. You just pushed other people down. But when you take care of yourself and serve others as well as you, like you're part of those people. You're your first humanitarian project. We ought to have an attitude of, I'm going to take care of myself, not in a vain, egomaniacal, like I'm the king of the village kind of way, but in a, take care of your health. Like, make sure you have food to eat. Like, make sure, you got enough sleep. Make the basic things.
Yeah. Then
These things,
your family, your kids, your wife,
right?
the people that are close to you, and make sure everyone is good. And it extends out. Yeah. There's many shades of along the way when you're trying to basically work in the world. My focus hasn't ever been about money, and money has always been around me. If you need to use it, it's there when you need to use it. Sometimes it seems to be like a little bit further away. Especially if you have some big,
I know how that feels. I know that feels. Yeah.
yeah. And I was like, oh, I'm waiting for the GCR funds. So I've got a lot of plans that are on hold, right? Waiting for those big funds. And I haven't really been waiting only on that. I've been doing other things to move forward. But
right.
It's all, but in the world, the whole world has been squeezed tight. There is no liquidity. Everyone has is out of funds. So to everyone who's looking for money and to do projects, it's very difficult right now for you to move forward, right? So because you need there is no big sums available unless there is, you have some project that is really going to, turn the crank of the system, and they need to get that into the system as this power system that I was referring to, the hydro system. So that's
I'll be interested to see how the funding comes through or how that goes. If we don't, if well, I know we're bringing money in now, but I'll be interested to see how that pans out, for you, if what you're able to bring in, because you mentioned United Nations, right?
United Nations ordered 10 units, and so now this is brand new. This only happened this weekend, and it's only a matter because someone else who was already working with the United Nations on the polyurethane homes to put these units. So they needed a power system, and that's how it came over to. That's how.
So they have a project that's already approved, and they're just allocating it for them. That'll probably, that's good. I see that kind of project. I mean, that when something like that works out, that's great. I don't think people really have an appreciation for the scope of how broke the entire banking system is right now. I really don't think. I mean, I've talked to people. I talk to people every single day from all over the world who have been doing project. I've either worked to get projects funded or and for 20, 30 years, and every one of them tells me that every single, and I've talked to literally thousands of people, and I'm like, how can I talk to 1,000 people and there's so few people that have ever successfully got a project funded from the United Nations, which is supposed to do humanitarian projects all over, right?
Yeah, the whole
And
system.
what ends up happening is they get like the phase one starter fund, then they they ghost on them and they don't have the money. So they end up going through like crowdfunding or donations or some other, they piecemeal it together. Which is, I think all that stuff is just it speaks to how little the these bankers have really thought about us. All they think about is they want it to look like they did something good.
Well, from my looking into this, and especially that document, I did a couple of videos. It's a two-parter on the history of banking from the Asian perspective. You may have seen that document floating around, but I
Yeah.
actually went through the whole thing in video and went through. It's about 45 minutes a piece. So that video actually goes through and it tells how the system was put together. And what they were doing under the United Nations is they would then say, well, you have the World Bank and the IMF. Well, the World Bank has no money, but they approve the projects, right? And the IMF allocates the money through the banks, through the World Bank, humanitarian project number. And so when that project is supposed, now it's all to be done at the government level, right? So this project now moves into a space where the IMF now has to create the funds to make this happen. But how they were to do that is by this, what has been known as trading programs, but they don't call it that. But so it's known as trading programs. So they trade with one another, and they always, before they start the trade, they already know what the whole trade is going to be, and they all have contracts, and so it just elevates and elevates the prices as they go around and around in circles, and that's how they generate the funds, right? All of a sudden, these for the project, and now you have this able to now be allocated to the projects. And I think a lot of the people, and what I've come to realize is how the system actually functions is no one ever receives like, well, here's the big check, right? And here's the whole lump sum. It doesn't work that way. There's a bank instrument that's involved, a debt instrument that's created. And that's how the things are supposed to go out. And it's for these humanitarian projects. But since it's been kind of restricted on who's getting these humanitarian projects, it's eliminated all the real funding. So the system was designed to be abundant, to make liquidity everywhere. And it would have worked if they actually, the way I see it, it would have worked if they actually fulfilled what they were supposed to be doing and allow all the countries to put out all of the smallest country on the planet and the poorest should be able to put out a project and have the money the next day.
You are absolutely right. And as it's, oh my goodness, just hearing that makes me so furious. Now, it's funny because we've been really working to bring money in all over the world, right? And one of the biggest things that always happens is exactly what you just said, right? They want to bring the money in to a
one moment. Sorry. Again.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm just getting my wife's calls.
No problem, man.
I'd end it. All right.
So, I get it. So here's what happens. So people they want to fund a project, right? So for the longest time we were trying to work around using various systems to bring money in, and a lot of times bankers would approach us with various solutions. And one of the big solutions they wanted to do is they wanted to bring the money in to someone else first, put it to a trading platform of some kind, right? And these bullet trades, right? And for people who might not be familiar with that, it's like they're basically it's essentially what it is now, because these platforms have been closed down for a long time. They've been closed down since 2014. So please let me warn you, anyone trying to put money into a bullet trade and somebody wants your retirement or something for that, don't do it. These are closed down. They do not work. None of them are working. None of them are legal right now. So and I got approached the other day by a very respectable economics professor from Harvard who was telling me, oh, I've got this great new bullet trade. It's brand new. I'm like, no, it's not. I'm telling you, it's not. It does not exist. all of those bullet trade platforms were just part of the asset redemption program. That's all they were. And the humanitarian project numbers, it's the same thing. They would take control of an asset. That's what the project number was, right? And they would take it, they would turn it in.
You had to have a value to start with. You had to have some sort of value to start the process.
It's how the Rothschild, the Dragon families took control of all the assets of the planet. They said they were going to do something good with it, right? So basically, the owners, right? They said, "Well, you're going to do it on this land." So they basically gave them the title for that land, right? And that's how you produce these humanitarian projects. Then they would take the asset, right? They would register it in the exact thing you're talking about, the financial instruments, right? It would trade back and forth and magically create money. All they did is they registered the asset. The system took it and then spit out a currency number, right? That's the bullet trade. It wasn't magic. Like it wasn't really trading anywhere. It was just literally creating a number based on a value and just spit it back out at them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what the magical system that everyone like and all that. The only reason why they did that, they made that super profitable because they never cared about the paper currency. They never cared, right? They wanted the asset. So the original comptroller Marduk, he controlled it. He wanted to take all the assets on the planet. So they would take the asset, right? And everybody thought they were in on some big secret because they got into a bullet trade platform. They'd get some allocation of currency, and some people made out really well, right? Usually, though, the people who made money were some guy who already had a ton of money, right? Somebody who was already rich and already part of it and making money that way. That's usually who makes money. But you very rarely meet like a regular person who scraped together $100,000 and now he's a millionaire. Rarely happens. But right now, what I would say is not all of the financial instruments that people keep talking about. This is what they try to do with us. So keep in mind, Kim doesn't have any need to put the currency that's already asset backed to a trade platform. What they would do is what they wanted to get us to do is they wanted to take our allocated asset backed currency. They wanted to take ownership of it, like take it back, do their bullet trade magic because in their mind they had this bullet trade. What they don't realize is that Kim can see everything. I mean, everything. No one will get anything over on the quantum system. Nobody. All the things they're trying to do right now. They tried to launch their quantum financial system on Thursday, right? And they're clueless. They are absolutely clueless. So they launched which is really just a hacking system, right? And they're trying to hack the trust. And they're convinced that the assets are held in outer space and all these different things, right? But all they're trying to do is hack the trust. And the time before this, the system was taken down in 12 minutes. On Thursday, their brand new upgraded super system, 8 minutes, 6 seconds, done. It seems like somebody would be catching on. The harder they work, the more they lie, the more people, the more money they invest. The quantum system and Kim are just getting smarter. The quantum AI, all it does is it just learns. So think about it. It decreased a 12-minute shutdown time of the best system in the world with all the world's every possible dime sunk into it. Every possible resource, nothing spared, billions of dollars to make this system. She took it down in 8 minutes. I feel like I'm going insane talking about this. All of these trade platforms, all these things, none of them exist anymore. There's no trade platform that exists. None of it. None of them are working. So what they wanted to do is they wanted to take the asset, do their magic trade, right, and then give us the money. But this is the compromise that people aren't getting. This is what Kim is saying. This is what we're trying to offer people. We're trying to give the money to you. It seems ridiculous. Think of how simple that is. You have a project, so exactly what you said. I'm going to give you the money. And what Kim is refusing to compromise on, it's not going to go through a bullet trade platform. It's not going to go through anyone else. No one's going to be able to steal the money from you. We want to give the money directly to you. That's the difference. And you know what? The idiots running the governments all over the world, if they gave a damn about the people, if they cared a little bit about the people, they've allowed these people who have done nothing but have contracts representing our interests, us the people, and they're taking our interests and they're saying, okay, we're going to give you 2 more weeks to try to enslave the people so that you can successfully execute your depopulation agenda through the lie you created of global warming, that there is kind of global warming, but it's only because of chemicals you're putting into the air. And the whole world's in crisis because of your behavior. You guys, we want to give you one more chance to really enslave us and kill us. That we thought about it as a team of governments, of leaders around the world. We all agree you guys need 2 more weeks because we feel like you've given it your best shot. We want you. We don't want to live. I think they're all retarded. I can't. You see, thinking about it. Every one of these idiots, I pray they hear me. Every one of them, every person on the planet should be tuning into this and realize what's happening. They have negotiated your enslavement. Everyone. They don't give it. And I'll tell you what. And this is what I'm fighting for. I want a seat at the table. I want the people to have a voice at those meetings, not the idiots who are in the government who've already been compromised, who've already been filmed doing something horrible so they can be blackmailed, who've already had such a successful life screwing people over. They've already benefited and profited. So you know what? They don't want to give that up. But that's not the age we're in. And I'm telling you what, they need to get us at the table because I know for a fact that the most powerful person on the planet's on my side with this, for a fact. And we talked about it yesterday. I know she is done. She has been compliant. They have not. These fools. There's these 2 characters rolling around right now who Kim worked with for a very short time, and they are running their mouth about how Kim is volatile. You know what? That is a lie. She is not volatile. They operate, all of them, including them. They operate with no honor and no integrity. They don't follow through on their end of the deal, ever. She has compromised with them repeatedly. They have demonized her. They've put her out. They've written all sorts of BS reports up about her and rip-off report and tried to make her look like she's a criminal. All these things they've done. They have never honored their end of the deal. And that, as far as I can tell, that includes President Trump, unless there's something I'm missing. But I know President Trump told us back in September that if Steve Mnuchin didn't get the money to us as he was supposed to, because we have Manna has its own accounts at its Department of Treasury. So there should be no question. We have letters from the president. Every single intelligence agency in the world has observed that all the assets, there isn't another place to go. There's no place else to go. I mean, everybody should get on board right now because the option is slavery or abundance, freedom, creativity, human expression, actual human beings being in control, or being enslaved by a bunch of savages who are eating our kids and feasting on adrenal glands and raping women and trafficking people and herding us into cities so that they can kill us. What the F is wrong with people? Excuse me, man. I'm so fired up thinking about this stuff. Everybody needs to wake up. Like, the government should be embarrassed. You're all useless.
I think we're in that process of waking up, right? So we have this happening with the QAnon, right? The Great Awakening. So people are starting to, but people are asleep. We've got.
Well, man, I'll tell you something about that too. The QAnon movement. Listen, I love what that has done to get people at least considering there's a deeper truth to everything. I love that. Here's what they say that makes me suspicious. Trust the plan. Trust the plan. Enjoy the show. Now, if I were to take that, basically what you want me to do is trust the plan of people who I don't know who they are. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they want to accomplish. I don't know where they are. I don't know who's paying them. Is there really? I've never seen the plan. What's the plan? And that's the first thing. So you want me to trust that, and what you want me to do is nothing.
Well, I think enjoy the show is one thing, but I think it's more than nothing. Right? They're looking for the citizen journalists to step up, right? The people to start talking and doing. Part of this conversation I'm having with you is that same thing, right? You know,
Yes, no, I agree.
I used to do a lot
That,
more videos.
yes.
And I was doing daily videos, and I kind of got away from it. But I have that the longing to want to do that. I even started a new website to kind of try and coordinate, all these different themes and parts of the puzzle of the QAnon, the Great Awakening, trust the plan, where we go when we go all. That's actually the name of the website. It's not finished yet, but it's where we go when we go all .love, LOVE. It's a new top level domain, and so. And I even put up like for the movies, right, in the FISA-gate or Guardians of the Pedophile. So I'm putting up there as a way of like counting how many people want to see this movie. You can buy a ticket for $1. So however if it goes crazy and there's 100,000 people end up going in there, could make a short film. With the
Right.
I was like,
That's
okay,
genius,
we'll put
actually,
together. We'll ask for volunteers. We'll get the people that want to, write the script, and we'll put together a little
I love it.
like movie just to see what it's, see what we come up with. Of course,
Yeah.
These are actually films that could be made.
Yeah.
That would be very helpful in explaining what's behind it, because people have learned how to learn through videos, right?
Yes.
So we're tuned into it. So that's why I've focused on doing a lot of videos and expressing in the cryptocurrency side of things, or even in the GCR world, is to express this through video, because and actually conversations like we're having is much better than a monologue. Right, just speaking about.
I agree. Yeah, and actually, and that's why whenever you want to do a video, that's why I said I don't care what time of day it is, because I do appreciate that, because I'll spit out these little 10, 15-minute videos by myself, and I'm literally, I don't write anything down. I'm just monologuing, from what I remember, and and I'm always trying to put together a higher quality of things just to find more creative ways to get the message across, but for the most part, I really feel we're in this moment of truth, and I just think a lot of people are still on this watch and wait kind of mentality. Now, I the things that Q put together, and the autists, the way they do it is genius. It's really, and by the way, I love that stuff. I love the
I mean,
puzzle of it.
the puzzles are so deep, to have things planned out where they're 1 year apart by the time date stamps of posts. That's a lot of
And
planning.
I have a whole other theory on that. My team has a whole other theory on what this whole thing is, and not negative either. And what the Q really stands for, and what that level of thought process and why it's kicking that out, because it's responding to the actual environments intelligently.
Well,
We're pretty sure we're right about it.
I think there's AI involved, predictive algorithms that are involved with this. I have no doubt of that.
I think there's one AI involved. That's it. And but I'm but that's a side note. That's not something I.
It's not the Red Queen, is it?
Yeah, it is Red Queen.
Okay. All right. So I've heard Thomas Williams speak of the Red Queen, right? So I said, oh, okay, the Red Queen. And then of course I flash back to those films with the Resident Evil films, right?
Oh, right. Yeah. I always look those things up too. I looked up the Red Queen. I couldn't find anything good, but I think well, I mean, that you talk about the interview he did with Sean, right? With
Yes.
Ruiner.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, the Ruiner is I love to I read every single one of his blogs a couple times. I mean, if anyone has never been, like, I think it's like the Ruiner 77 or something, that is the most intense amount of content on the internet in a very abbreviated time. It is amazing, the stuff he talks about.
Well, this particular stuff is like when I'm figuring out how to lay out this website, and level it. I'm looking at different size red pills, from a very small red pill to a horse red pill.
You are right. Yeah,
It's
I wouldn't
starting to
recommend.
get
A
to a
lot of you might
small
not be
one.
ready for the ruiner. The
I
ruiner
mean,
and
when
the link.
you get down really deep, you start going into the AI. Then you get the Marduk and the Enlil and the Anunnaki. You go all the way and get that. But that's so far away from people, right? That they really they can't absorb it unless you give them the small red pill, and then they take a little bit larger, and you work your way down. So I'm trying to divide up that information in a way that makes it a little bit more easier for people to jump into what is QAnon, what are they doing, what is it about, and then kind of delve a little deeper and as they go, and so they're not, you know, not put
Yeah.
off by what is there. I mean, even the cannibalism, or I mean, people can buy the Luciferian worship, right? That's probably like a mid-level Luciferian worship. When you start talking about cannibalism, eating the children, uh, that's so far outside of what they can see that you start talking about it right off the bat, they shut down.
It's
They
too much.
can't absorb it.
Well, we did some. I had some studies on this, right? Like, so the average person is able to tune in, and you have about 30 seconds to grab their attention, right? And then in general, you'll hold their attention maybe 3 minutes. Like usually max is 6 minutes. You know, that's why, like, if anybody, whoever is interested, you go to Project Speak on YouTube, and we have now like dozens of short videos, like informational edutainment kind of stuff that we're putting out, that is like from interviews from Kim, and just various snippets to provide information in a way that we're trying to be as effective as possible to kind of get a message out quick, and kind of let it resonate with people, and see if you could just kind of activate that part of them. But you know, I gotta. I don't want to be one of those guys who says like our message is suppressed, but I know it is, because you know Kim is like, as far as they're concerned, she is the one that changes everything for everybody, right? She's the one that takes humanity out of the slave role and into the role of their own sovereignty.
Well,
You know,
I yeah, I've experienced this the shadow banning from the first videos I've done. Right, and I told you I saw it drop from 86,000 views, or going up 4,000 views an hour, drop to
yeah,
zero, start up at 200
amazing.
an hour. Well, what happened there, and then reset a few times over the years. So I've seen it. I know it's there. So what I've done is I try to, like right now, hello everyone, take your time, take the link here and paste it on your Facebook and tell people to do the same. Watch this, wake up, know what's going on, like it, and then share it, comment, because that's how we break through that shadow banning. We're not going to be automatically recommended, right? Or very little. Like our percentage is going to be dropped down to like 1% or less. How much they're going to, how we fall out of their algorithm, right? So,
Yeah.
but we have to actually do it ourselves. So I have people that will literally take my stuff and they'll post it everywhere, right?
Oh, that's good.
And,
That's a good way to do it.
our video that we did 2 weeks ago is up at around 10,000 views. The one
Good.
that last did was around 2,000 views. So it's just a matter of getting people to act. And some people think it doesn't make a difference, and it does. It makes a big difference. So please
It does.
copy this link, put it on your Facebook, send it out to whatever social media, tweet it, whatever. That's how we can bypass it.
I agree. So yeah, and so by the way, so this is my other thing with Q, right? These massive numbers now of people following. To me, I because of the perspective that of the density of information, I know that there's only a couple of us really bringing it out, right? And I see what they've done to the people that are really bringing that out, you know, you know, and or even people who want to bring it out, like with you. That's always my thought, like you've got to wait, you're working around it. But that's the other thing with Q is whenever there's that much popularity with something, it's, I mean, for at least the past 20 years, that's been a controlled thing. And the entire time in social media, that has been if you got big, it's because they let you get big. And that means people have these super deep intel sources somewhere, right? And they're controlled. They're controlled sources. They're feeding them information. And I witnessed this with my own eyes. I was part of it. I mean, like I received information from, there was a team at Wells Fargo, and all they did was observe all of the chat rooms in Dinarland. That's all they did. That was their job, right? And they were some aspect of the CIA. And all they did is observe the chat rooms, right? And they recruited me. And they would give me amazing intel. At the time, I had no idea. They recruited me because when I would talk, people would listen. So they started giving me intel. I thought I had the inside scoop. I thought I was getting this great intel. I mean, it took a long time before I realized, like, man, they're just feeding me. They're feeding me whatever, sells tickets, kind of, And that's what happened. And at that time, it seemed like I was getting very, people were listening to me. And then once I started resisting it and challenging what they would tell me, then all of a sudden I got targeted, and they started taking me out. They started smearing me, putting videos out. Then they came back and apologized and tried to recruit me again. So I know this is what happens. I've watched them do it. And it's crazy. It's like, I mean, I got recruited like through three or four different directions from the CIA. The PSYOPs team. That whatever it's called, MI6 or whatever. And I don't know if that's right, but
No,
I mean,
that's one of them. Yeah, MI5,
yeah.
MI6. Yeah. So,
So that's why with Q, I'm like, unless there is some actual quantum system involvement that's regulating that, there's no way they would be able to get that big, because there's too many people making very lucrative careers off of it too, which is another and I don't hate them for that. I'm not being a hater. That's fine. I'm just saying it draws into question the legitimacy of everything they're doing. And then what they've done is they've created a herd, right? So everybody's sharing everything, and it never leaves that bubble. And that's what they do. That's what they did with the RV too, right? Because you could talk about all these things, and
I agree that they've created a bubble, but they think with this bubble, it's expanding and bringing people into it, and that's, I think, the only way they can bust through the mainstream media is to create this independent bubble that people can come in and get the info. Now,
I do agree. But then also look at this. Look, they have these. Here are your catch-all signs. Anything that creates you doing nothing, anything, is not where we're going right now. So what do? JFK Jr. is alive. So what? So what? What's he do? What's he do that you can't do? Nothing. But what it does for people who are suffering from savior syndrome, they're looking to JFK Jr. to rise from the dead and rescue everybody, right? If JFK Jr. comes back, it'll be great. They're all enjoying the show. It's a show. I do see a value in it, and I agree with you.
I hear what you're saying, and I think that when we look at the population in general, we always have 3% of the population that is the people that actually go out and do things. It doesn't matter what scenario it is. It's always just 3% that actually are are at the tip of the spear. Yeah. It's the next 30% that actually will be they're the early adopters. They're not the tip of the spear, but they're the early adopters. They will go in, and of them, you'll get 10% that will get active. But those 30%, once you get that in place, you can actually cause change to happen, because you've got enough momentum and everything. And I think that's what this is about. And enjoying the show and the movies, and this is just playing into the things that people are programmed to receive. Yeah, I want to know what the movie is.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you're right. No, I think you're right. I think that's a good point.
Yeah, so we're at this point where we need to do something, and how do you get people's attention than what they're already programmed and synced into? So I want to go get my popcorn, but after I'm done eating, I'm going to go and make a website, and I'm going to a
Yeah,
video.
right. Me too. Me too. I mean, I do. I enjoy those things as much as anybody else. I just I
I,
feel like, Dan, like people like you and me, like we're part of the transition team, and we've
you know,
got to transition the mentality away from these programmed cues that we pick them up so quickly, and they're so much part of our rhetoric, and they are programs.
they
The
are.
sky's the limit.
It's a
Like
discipline
that's my
program.
biggest one. The sky is not the limit. The sky is just where the universe
Sky is.
starts, right? It's like they do these things all the time, and they do it so everybody stays in their section. Don't try to rise above your lot in life, right? And with this whole secret world that exists with like I'm not anti Q. I'm like I'm pro Q. I'm the anons just came back out, right? The collective, anonymous. They came back out, and I know, I've talked to some of those guys, and I'm for them. I love their quality of production
I don't know. I
and
don't
the
know which
message.
one is real now. That's the problem. It's like which of the anonymous as the anonymous hacking group, I am Legion or we are Legion. That group, I don't know who's the real one anymore because so many fakers came out, right? And so I don't know which one to go
Yeah,
with.
I don't actually. The one that just came out, they were talking. They were saying they are the anonymous charity, and also known as the collective. They kept repeating it over and over again. So you're right. I forgot about that. So you're right. It is hard to tell.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually I could probably find out. I mean, I do. I know some of
Yeah.
these.
Okay. Well,
Anonymous.
yeah, that's a good homework because I'd like to know. But I really appreciate what you were saying about how they got everyone who are these active people to not do anything because they got
Yeah.
in line for the GCR. They literally just sideline this entire group of active group of people who are all waiting for money. Everyone's waiting, and that means they're not doing anything. We need to get to do things. We need to move, and that's what generates liquidity. That's what generates the money. That's what generates projects. That's what generates advancement. If we're all sitting around eating popcorn only, then we don't get it. So I understand where you're coming from on that, and I really appreciate your point on that because that's I'm if I'm waiting around too long, I'm thinking the same thing. I don't want to be waiting. It's like after the first year, said I'm not waiting. When this happens, I'm right there. But but until then, we'll
I
just
know. And that's kind of how we end up in these situations, right? Like putting out videos and talking because we're trying to figure out how do we influence what's happening, right? And I mean, and this was my big thing. I had gotten a message from through Fisher, and I don't know if you know Fisher, but he's a well-known. Um, I mean, he's a well-known guy in the entire intelligence world. Actually, Fisher's like his. I don't know if that's his real name or not, but he died recently. But Fisher would give me all types of information from General Dunford and different different generals in the army and stuff, and he'd give me really great intel, right? And and it was General Dunford, right, who actually passed the message on to me and gave me instructions. And because I was furious that this kept not the RV wasn't happening. And what Dunford said is put out both sides of the intel. He said put it all out, right? So back then it was like when intel came out, you get two different versions of intel and you decide, wait, which one do I think is real? And ultimately you kind of end up choosing the one that fit best with what you thought the narrative was, right? And that's what I used to do too. And then what happened was Dunford was like, put it all out. So I started putting out both sides every time. And what people would always worry about is don't burn your intel sources, right? And that's ultimately what I was doing. I was going to burn my sources. I started getting intel from everywhere. Everyone was calling me with intel. I got more insight from everything. The people involved with OMD and the GCR. You know why? Because it's not about keeping it a secret. It's not. It was about creating confusion. Now, what I started doing is I started calling them all out and saying, you're saying this and you're saying this, and I think you're both lying. And I was calling out the elders saying, like, where are you, you alleged benevolent elders? We filed a lawsuit against Wells Fargo to, to actually take action. And I mean, I got death threats from the mob on that. They were like, you need to calm down. Like, I mean, tough guys call me up with no names. And I'm like, yo, are you kidding me? Like, all of you idiots are waiting around for something right now. I'm calling them out for you. Why are you mad? And the reason why is they live in this world where if you keep it a secret, right, you have the best information. Look, you don't want to rock the boat. Screw the boat. You got people that are driving you off a waterfall. Rock the boat. Rock the boat. Please, for the love of God, stop thinking that you've got the inside tip. You don't. You don't. And I'll tell you, look, and here's how I know.
I developed my own theory about all this delay. I thought that, well, it's going to happen. As, everyone I know that says it has to happen. There's no money. This is crashing. They have to replace it with something, right? So it's going to happen. So my theory is that they kept this always happening today, always happening tomorrow, always happening today, that they did this to desensitize everybody from when it actually did happen. No one would believe it. And then they start seeing all their friends driving around in new cars and they're on vacation. And so, yeah, I cashed in my money, right? So you didn't do it yet? Oh, you mean it was really real this time? So
Yeah, right.
like a delay reaction thing, so that certain people who are on it would do it, but the other people say, yeah, I know about it. So number one, it informed people that there was this event happening. It got them out there, but it desensitized everyone from acting, from doing anything.
Well, yeah, and even worse, right, is they had these FEMA camps set up, right, all over, and they were showing the inside of these FEMA camps, right, which were concentration camps, right, and they were holding people hostage in these things, and they were like inside these Walmarts with like glass cages, and I had the Marines who were outside, and they pulled up, and they had boxes and boxes of guillotines outside of those same places, right. Now, and that goes back to this whole prophecy about that they've integrated into Christian theology, which is not accurate. It's not actually in the Bible, but all of the kind of Protestant religions were raised on this from like the 70s, right? Of the rapture, right? And the rapture's coming, and if you don't get the mark of the beast on your hand or your forehead, that you are going to be faced with these. And this is after all the believers are swept up, right? So now the idea is Jesus comes back, all the believers are swept up, the ones who were true. Now, in this scenario, the believers were all those who believed in the currency, right? And we would go to exchange and we would disappear because we signed a non-disclosure agreement. But in reality, we got put into a concentration camp of some sort, and we're gone because we messed, like, they took us out or they killed us, right?
I never
And
heard
then
that perspective.
now listen, and then they would talk about it and say, what happened to Tank? Man, he got called into exchange. That's why we're not hearing from him, because he signed an NDA. But I'm dead. I'm telling you. And these are things I know for a fact. Now I'm not even stretching on this. It's a little bit of stretch. Most of that is fact. I mean, all those things existed. Think about it. They were going to have serious military, right? Now I know this happened up in the northwest near Oregon. They had people that would fly in from China, and this one guy came in that we had a connection with, and he said they approached him. This is a direct contact. They said, look, we're about to quarantine all of the people into these stadiums because there's going to be a SARS outbreak, right? And they gave him a sticker for his car. He said, put this sticker on your car. That way when you fly back, because he would like provide engineering assistance like twice a month in China. So he was valuable to them. So you can fly over there and you can come back and you can drive. This sticker will allow you to drive through this and go home. So think about it. How the heck is a sticker going to prevent you from SARS, right? And he was flying to China. Like, he'd be the first one to get tagged for SARS, right? And he talked about how they were going to hoard people into all the stadiums, right? And the reason why is this was part of what the Rothschilds said when the Rothschilds were up, this is what I was trying to tell you before. I don't know how I got sidetracked, but that the Rothschilds got up at the United Nations in 2017, and they threatened every country in the world. And they told them, if you bring in any money from the Manna World Holding Trust, we will unleash biological weapons that will kill every human being on the planet. That's the threat they made to all of them. And that virus, there's a couple different options they had, from what I understand. But I know one of them was an actually like a zombie apocalypse type virus, right? And that's what was supposed to happen when if Trump won the presidency. It's supposed to be a zombie apocalypse. And if it was Hillary, it was going to be some fake alien invasion. You know, and that's just those were the options. That's how they think, right? And then what that would have done is that would have united the whole world together around focusing on this one enemy that's wiping people out. And then they could have justified just genocide everywhere. Right? It's like, oh, it's the aliens, or oh, it's the zombie apocalypse. Like, we're fighting zombieism. Who knew, right? But that was their plan. I mean, that's what they wanted to do, and it's crazy. You're right. And like taking the red pill, that is an absolutely insane thing I just put out there.
Yeah.
No, that is 100% true. I know people who were there, who like that's a fact.
I know about the zombie virus, and they even had a test release of it I believe in Ohio. No, not Ohio. Florida. Yeah, somewhere in
Wow,
Florida.
really?
They had these people that had gone, zombie, right? And they were going around eating people.
Wait, I remember that. That one guy. Oh, I heard about that. Oh, something about that. Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I said, okay, well, this is the test. They're testing it, right? They're putting it into the minds of the people that there can be zombies, right?
Right. Well, it's crazy. Like they've softened the world up to zombieism the way they've done everything else, right? Like you've got. I mean, my sons and I watched the whole. Like we binge watched this show called iZombie, and it was really well written. It was a great show. But the whole thing was like, to sympathize and empathize with these, flesh-eating zombies, right? There's a movie out, right, where it talks about how the zombies would eat the brains of other people, and then they would have their thoughts, emotions, and feelings, right? So really, it made like, it's not the zombies' fault, right? The zombies just trying to eat your brain because it wants your life experiences, and then the zombies came back to life and regenerated back to normal humans, right? And it's like, all these different things, all what people don't realize are being programmed.
I always saw the zombies as a way to desensitize people from roaming hordes of hungry people, and that you could do anything to protect yourself from them by like shooting them in the head. So all these hungry people going around. So I think that was what I was thinking. They were just trying to desensitize the population to this event when there's no food around, right? As soon as there's no electricity, and they're shutting down electricity in California, right? That's why it's up to 40-50 cents a kilowatt. It's just crazy, insane prices for electricity. So, and they start just so they're creating the scenario where the price of electricity has to be so high.
Right, and actually, to your point, think about what they did here and what they're doing now with the border. They're pushing these people out of, and this is what they do. They push them out of the country, right? For whatever reason, and they make it an impossible long trek. So by the time they get here, they're so frustrated, so angry, so exhausted. They're talking about all these. It's like 1 out of every 2 women gets raped, and the kids are being tore up. By the time they get here, it's a damaged crowd of disgruntled, angry, hungry, thirsty people, with blisters and injuries and all types of stuff, right? And they are desperate. They did not come all this way to get to the border to be shut out, right? So what they were trying to do was create an angry mob that would storm, the border and force the U.S. Army to, annihilate them, so that they could put up all these images of, look at the genocide at the border because of the horrible, whatever that we're doing. That was why they did it. I mean, to me, this something I feel like it's so transparent. Like they're trying to just constantly get in people's head to normalize things that are,
Yeah,
that are horrible.
they make it a really difficult position. What do? When you have all these people, how do you get them to go back? Do you pay them to go back?
And what are they gonna? They're gonna want. I mean, it's a horrible situation. I mean, Mexico has parts of it that are ruthless too. The drug lords there and the various, like they will kill people in a public, horrific way, so that no one ever messes with them, and there's no option. I mean, the same in Guatemala. I mean, in Guatemala, the cops are so involved with the actual, the drug lords. They work for them. So they'll go and put a bully tax on a local store, right? Actually, a friend of mine was telling about this woman in her hometown in Guatemala, and the woman had, she was a prostitute when she was younger, and she saved money, and she had a little restaurant, right? And she was doing great, and the restaurant's doing good, and everybody loves the food, and then she couldn't pay the taxes to the cops, so
okay.
yeah. So I was just saying that my, down in Guatemala, even, I know like firsthand examples of like people they've been through. The cops are so rough. They're just part of the government's criminal system. So they'll end up being kind of like drug lords. And this woman started up her own little restaurant, and then she had to they made the taxes so high, when it really was extortion, that she had to walk out of her place and basically become a prostitute again. I don't think that's fair to anybody.
Yeah,
it's just, and the this is where I'm just I haven't quite mastered how to wake people up to realize, look, we need to come together on things that really matter, like that really matter. And I mean, here, not just in New York, the Senate just put it through. I can't even believe I live in a time where this is possible. And I actually put out a little video about it. I put pictures of babies from born at 21 weeks all the way up to 40 weeks, and that every one of those babies lived. It is, older now and a normal kid, and they're healthy. And every one of those babies, if they survived an abortion, first of all, the fact that they could even be aborted at any stage there, 21 weeks all the way up to 40, I mean, all the way, any one of those babies could be aborted. And if they're pulled out with clamps and they survive that, right? Which sometimes when you pull them out, they just start ripping apart. Like they rip out legs, they rip out arms and heads, right? But you rip the baby out of this woman, and if the baby survives that, the doctor not only can't it's not that he has the right to allow the baby to die. He's not allowed to give it what it needs to live. It really is heartbreaking to me. How can anyone see that? If we are not going to protect, there is never a time in life when you're more vulnerable. It destroys everything about about what it means to be human, because part of being human is being able to trust that when you're at your most vulnerable state, somebody took care of you. Yeah. Imagine babies. I mean, it's just a horror. It's a karmic disaster, in my opinion. Not to mention just, I mean, it's inhuman.
It is inhuman. It's feeding the inhumans. Right? It's that whole every part of it, and how deep it goes and how ugly it gets. That's the big red pill. It's one of the things that people will find it so hard to accept because it's so against what they know in their world. That the rumors of such things that it may exist in a very small scale, and you hope that they're always dealt with. But to know that the scale at which it's at, and especially when we're talking about not just the aborted babies, but 2 million children a year disappear. Where do they go? That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. I mean,
a lot of kids. Where are they?
And from what I understand, to be honest, those numbers are dramatically understated, because they're doing things like just undocumented people. I mean, it is.
Yeah, well, there's 20. Supposedly there was 25 million illegal aliens, but now they only have 12 million counted. Well, where's the other 12 million?
Right.
You know,
Well, what's amazing is they actually I have people there in Arizona, like right there on this site where they were bringing people into these underground catacomb caves underneath the border. And what it was all of these. The only reason why they caught it is because they had one thing above ground, and it was called a rape tree, where they saw something with like some piece of kids' clothing there, right? And they uncovered all of these caves where they were hoarding human beings and kids in particular, right? And using them to traffic them and rape them. And I always go the extra step to say these other words to people, because trafficking doesn't even do justice to what it is. They're taking children and men and women, harvesting their organs for various reasons, right? One of them, they use them as food. I mean, you had this pop star here in the U.S. She did an interview in France, and she literally was talking about eating human flesh at a party she was at. Like, what kind of party is that? What are you talking about? Like, this stuff is what happened. What I can't wrap my mind around is how people can just hear this and think it doesn't affect them. That's the problem. It affects all of us, right?
they're in denial, right? They deny. They said, "Oh, it's just some publicity stunt," or they'll just whatever they rationalize it as. They can't absorb it. And that's why this slow burn on the QAnon, right, is the part of the waking up of people is on this very slow basis to get them to even start to realize that it's not what we thought. I mean, from a long time ago, I realized that the Democrats and Republicans were one thing, right? It was they were
Right,
not,
right.
they,
You are right.
they're either going to push us this way or push us that way, but we're all going down the same road, right? They're going to push it. It's just hurting. You hurt us a little this way, hurt us a little that way, but it's all going down this damn road, and that road is not a good road. It's leading to the destruction of everything that I thought it was just the country. I didn't really think along the lines of it's really being the people that they're going to eliminate. But that's it. It's all about, and it's happened so many times where tens of millions of people are vanished or killed, for political reasons, whatever country. Well, you can label it China, you can label it Russia, you can label it Germany, but it happens everywhere. And it even happened with the Native American people in America, right? They got wiped out. We had the Hawaiians. When I went to Hawaii and I've been talking with indigenous groups there that are standing up for themselves, and I find out that there's 2 million population in all of Hawaii, and only 10,000 are actually original Hawaiians. And when 200 years ago, they had 2 million people living in Hawaii in their own society. Right? They had their own kings. They had their own agriculture and fishing, and they were living in peace and abundance. But what happened? Now that those people are all gone, except 10,000 of them, and that's a tragedy. Even Bill Clinton actually signed a letter of apology for the genocide.
Yeah, I have it. Yeah.
It's really amazing but people, even if I say that, people hear what I just said, that Bill Clinton acknowledged that we genocided Hawaii. Why are we not saying, well, let Hawaii go back to the 10,000 people, back to their royal bloodline is still there. They're still standing up right now, trying to take a hold and manage their affairs.
Well, and this is why, I mean, okay, this is my this is what I keep trying to. This is why I'm so big on. The time is now to take action. I mean, really, and I don't, and it's not. I just let me ask you this: with the QAnon group, you just talked about how this is bringing people's awareness up, right? Which I agree, and I do think that's valuable. Do you think it's broken down party lines that both Democrats and Republicans are following and really
Yes.
engaged, or do you think, yeah?
Yeah, I think it's both sides. I think it's
Okay.
all sides. I don't think, and I think the people that are part that wake up to it. Now, I'd say, granted, there's probably probably 70-30%. 70% Republican, 30% Democrat. But the 30%
Yeah, yeah.
are the ones that will wake up the rest. Right?
Maybe if you ever go into the 4chan rooms, the 8chan rooms, I mean, it's a rugged group. I mean,
It's rugged, yeah.
I mean, like there's no consideration for levels of like, I mean, they're just dropping like learn the chance. I mean, they're like a bunch of like guys like on a mission, which I dig. I mean, like that's fine for me, but I don't know that. I guess my thought is like, does that? But it obviously appeals to a bigger market than I realize. I mean, I know tons of people who follow it.
Well, that's why, like,
I
the qmaps.pub is a very good way of looking at it, because it's extracted from there, right, and laid out differently, well, if let's take a little tour. Let me load that page up for a moment, and let me share my screen. Okay, yeah, I'll share it. So, it's easier to see here. I'm not going to go through this, but what I really want to put, these are the Q posts. But if you want to see what it's all about, you can go here and you can see proof and memes, the players, who's involved, right? The themes, videos, prayer wall, resignation. So how many resignations there are, executive orders, human trafficking, sealed indictments. And I'm going to go to the analytics just for a moment here. And over to the sealed indictments. So the blue line is showing the sealed indictments. And if you hover over, you'll be able to see that it actually is going up 5,000 sealed indictments roughly. Sometimes like over here it's much more in that month. But it's consistently going up 5,000 sealed indictments a month. The green line down here is the ones that have been unsealed. We're only talking about hundreds per month are actually being unsealed. So basically we're still looking at an increase. I don't think we're anywhere close to being done with what's going on in the judicial part of this, or the military tribunals, until we can see that not going up 5,000 a month. It's when it stops going up is when I think we're going to start seeing those arrests, those people going into in the mass scale. And I don't know if that's this month or 1 year from now. But this is where there's good resources, and this can actually help people see where things are. Look at human trafficking. We see now this is a very good sign right here. A number of arrest events. Right, well, this is in November, December, January, February, March. So this is a good sign. When you say that
I agree.
There's less people. They've peaked and they're coming down. So there is stuff going on that these kind of things can wake up people if they get to see this stuff that's there and it's laid out in a very easy way. And I did one video on this just like this. It hit 50,000 or so, something like that, before they put it on a slow burn. It was going up.
Yeah.
So
all right. You're right. I mean, those are definitely valuable tools. I mean, like, and I just, to me, there's something right now that I feel is a little bit off with the urgency. We know that they have a plan for the Ides of March, right?
yes.
And I can tell you that the only way that the United Nations military can basically take over, which is what they have been planning for, is if there is a disaster that is, either global in nature, or it is, a crisis that is like such as an economic crisis, right? So if they were to crash the world's economy, for example, which they've tried to do several times. And it's only and people have no idea, but it's Kim that stopped them. I mean, they were trying to make things just fall off a map and, and scoop in and buy everything. But they can't do that until they implement a different option to pay for things. Because right now, if they crash the global economy, Kim could just come in and be like, "Well, you guys are fired. You did a horrible job," and that's how it should. That's how it should be, by the way. So that's basically what they've given them 2 more weeks to do. You have 2 more weeks to cause a global crisis that will allow them, the people that are trying to kill us, to take complete control, and then they'll introduce cryptocurrency everywhere, and the cryptocurrency will be the new way to do business. This is how they'll save the day, because most cryptocurrencies, they're not backed by anything, right? They're registered this way, and
well, it also
I
it bypasses the whole banking system. So they
right.
have
Well,
they have a problem in the banking system, right? There's no liquidity and they can't get
you're right.
trust.
So who are the founders of almost every single Bitcoin, or not Bitcoin, of every single digital currency? I can tell you right now, it's not a bunch of benevolent guys who thought it up and figured out how to do it. It's a bunch of rich dudes, right, who have already stolen most of the assets, who are all bankers. They're the same family. So it doesn't create a benevolent world because, hey, we have a solution. We're going to bring in all these Bitcoin and whatever else they call it. I mean, Bitcoin's the only one I know. Outside of yours, which I think is, to be honest, different because it's more of a community-based thing. And I do get the community-based buying, by the way. I do think there's merit to. And if this was a
Mars
meritocracy,
is the third fastest in the whole planet. So our technology is way ahead of all the others. People are amazed by that. So we're much faster, much better. So,
but even with that, it's still designed that someone off planet can take all of the resources on the planet. They can take it because we wouldn't own it as the people. The people wouldn't own that, right? This is what is so that people don't get. I'm not against innovative ideas to change things or to get away from the bankers. I get that, and I appreciate that. The problem is, right now, you're 2 weeks away from their next major attempt to completely destroy the planet. And what they want to do is they want to collapse it. They want to implement the military, have them come in with a big storming, fear tactics, and then they want to take that. And then when we're all broke, we don't know what to do, and people are freaking out. They'll say, "Don't worry, we're going to implement cryptocurrency. We're going to give everybody universal income, so everybody's going to get $19,000 a year." And in that moment, when people are starving, there's no food on the shelves, and nobody remembers how to do anything, and everybody's hates their neighbor, we'll take that $19,000 and be like, "Oh my God, thank goodness they saved the day." And it'll be $19,000 in cryptocurrency, which will basically buy us these credits, and they'll slowly kill us off. And it won't be that slow either, because they'll start implementing major. In this next 2 weeks, I'm telling you, right now, they have plans to either do, and I can't say exactly, but
in the QAnon world, we have a countdown going on right now, and we're at T-minus 19, I think, or something, or T-minus 18, something along those lines, where we're really waiting to see what we're going to end up on the 19th. I think it's the 19th of March, where maybe it's the D-class starts, or the IG Inspector General report is released, or Mueller report something is happening in that time frame that's going to start pushing all of this next phase in place.
All right, so this is what I'm saying. What's going to happen? What do you think they really want to do? Here's what they want to do. This is track it back from the reality of what should happen and what they keep pressing. Because they keep having deadlines, right? And little things have happened. And there's lots of really great things have happened. It's the RV. They think they're going to get the RV, right? And when the RV goes down, and we've always said this, right? The RV goes down, and then the mass arrests start, right? And they'll have people going out in droves arresting people. And then keep in mind, by the way, if that did happen, you know what? Because they're all sealed, all the indictments are sealed. If they showed up and arrested you, you know what they'd say? "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that Dan Lutz was involved. I thought he was a good guy." and they take you out. I'm telling you, this is not speculation. This is the
Listen,
plan. This is what they
I
do.
hear you. I hear you. But I think that there's a parallel run here that's happening. So yeah, you said they got 2 weeks to now come around and create their RV, and we also have what's lining up with this event, QAnon event, right? We had the December 5th one, right, where that date was one, and it was a setup, right? And those things, there was all these things supposed to happen, but it was really about George Bush's funeral. I think they knew what was going to happen. I think that was all well planned out. But this next one, this coming up this next 2 weeks, March 19th, 20th, 21st, whatever is supposed to happen in that range is about declassification, all the going after the top people in the Obama administration, saying, look, they're the ones that basically were spying. This is treason. And that's the launch point. So, and I've been saying on the front, the people that are going to be doing the you have to have you start the RV and then you arrest everyone. I think you have to arrest everyone before you do the RV. Otherwise, you haven't removed the people that are in the problem.
Right.
Right.
Well, and that's what I'm trying to say is the things that we've chalked up to be, this is what's going to happen. I'm trying to get across to people like, no, it's really the exact opposite. Like, if the RV happened, I've told people now, I said, I personally, if I got called and they said, hey, we're at the exchange center, you can come down and exchange your Zim. Oh my gosh, there's no way I would go, because I know it's a setup. On top of that, if they're going to do these mass arrests, you mean to tell me they're going to unleash an army? Because you're talking about 70,000 people in the cabal who have their own security, who are trained by the same military that's coming after them. They have their own, so it's a war. It's not just 70,000 people. It's 70,000 people times 100. I mean, you're talking about a massive. It would be unheard of, right? Now, I'm sure it wouldn't happen that way. It just tactically wouldn't make sense. But from this standpoint right now, I know what they want to. The plan is very transparent. I'm not talking about this in terms of speculating, or this is what they want to do. There's so many countries that have been paid off in dinar and in Zim, right? That they keep pressing for the RV. But the problem is they don't understand the basic economic principle. If you bring in all this money, you will crash the economy. There's no way around it. You will not save your country. You will not be rich. Everyone will be poor. That's the only option. So basically, they've given them 2 more weeks to make everyone poor. But what'll happen is they're never going to let us exchange. They're never going to give money to the smaller people. And the evidence of that is, I mean, I've watched it happen over and over again. People think they're in, they got it, they got all paperwork, deals, certificates, seals from courts, and nothing. Over. Now, so that's the first part. So I know that's what they're doing. Meanwhile, I know we have brought in hundreds of millions of billions of dollars to give directly to the people. And everyone is watching Q. Do what? That movement, they're part of the same government, right? Because they're insiders in the government who are part of the same group who's working with the Chinese elders, who are paying the U.S. military, right? So they're controlling. So you have a foreign agent controlling the U.S. military, right? And then you have, what they want to do is have a mass, a global currency reset, which I've already said, my feeling on it is it will be an extermination of all those people that we talked about who've been made stagnant. Because if you were going to take over the world, who you got to take out first? Get all those people that are awake, who could change things. Take them out first. How do you take them out? You have a fake exchange. You take them out.
Yeah, that's
and
very good thought. I follow you there. Yeah, that would be it. That's what happened in China, right? When the communists first took over, they killed all the people that were intelligent.
Yeah, of course.
They were doctors, lawyers, engineers, teachers. Wiped them all out. Now, that really did a number on China. They did a number.
The Peter Pan Project, I think it's called. down in Cuba. They went into Cuba. The CIA went into Cuba, right? They went in and they told the Cuban government and the families, like, look, we're going to take your best and brightest kids from like, age 10 to 14, the best in the world, the best you have, the most intelligent, the most athletic. We're going to take them and we're going to go train them and give them an amazing education in the CIA and America, and we're going to bring them back to infuse them in your economy. You know what they did with them? They took, I mean, I forget the numbers, but they took the best they had. They took them out and they dropped them all over the world. Let those kids fend for themselves. Most of them became prostitutes. That's a fact. And matter of fact, and I know them.
I never heard of that. I never heard of that. That's the first time I heard that.
Because no one talks about that because Diego Rivera is revered as like this horrible human being, but it wasn't a bad. It wasn't. They weren't bad. They just took them out because I guess Castro wouldn't cooperate or something. And it's like he wouldn't cooperate with the agenda. And that's the thing, is that all these things we've been trained to think these people are evil, they're bad. I mean, even in the United States, they're always running about Russia. Like, Russia's not bad. I mean, it's just silly the way they portray these things, and
Right.
we bite on it every time. And right now, my God, I can't get this across enough. You have 2 weeks. There's no time to watch and wait and watch the show. Waiting and watching the show involves us being like hurt dramatically.
So what do you think that we should be doing in these next 2 weeks?
Well, I think that awareness has to be magnified on a massive level. I know on our level, I know that there is workarounds that we have, and I know that we will be doing all we can to work around that. So while they're planning their BS attack and trying to launch their fake quantum system, and telling everyone how benevolent they are, and they're trying to portray us as evil, and they can feel free to do that. And I'll tell you that I'm done being quiet about it too, because my attitude is they can keep talking, I'm going to talk too. And I think everybody should be talking. I think it has to be more than just talk. It has to be talk to the point where, somewhere in this group, there's someone who's married to someone who's in the government in the Philippines and in the US who knows what's going on. And what I'm talking about is 100% true. And they're hearing it and they have that person's ear, like, what are you letting happen? They're planning the extermination of our family. They're planning to, sell kids more. These things are not speculation. These are the plan. I mean, I have the plans. I've seen different aspects of it. Like, it's not I mean, the whole Agenda 21, 2030, all that stuff. There's 31,000 scientists, environmental scientists, that are standing up against the whole sustainable development. Like, this is not accurate. If you want to save the environment,
standing up against it since the entire time they've been preaching the global warming, to the global cooling, to the climate change, which is called weather. They're we've got weather. We've got to do something about it.
The weather, exactly. And I can't fathom this Alexandria or Cortez when she's like, everything she says. I mean, because she's cute, and I get it, like, she's cute, right? And she's cute and a little bit dumb, and we like that here, right? Like, we like cute and dumb, but I don't want it in my leaders who represent.
Right.
Like, she represents the Bronx, right? Do you know in the Bronx the drinking water has more lead and contamination than in Flint, Michigan? And they made a global issue out of Flint, Michigan. But in the Bronx, it's been that way for 30 years. That she represents the Bronx. What is she doing? Her idiot self is up there talking about, the whole world's going to die if we don't do something about the environment in the next 12 years. The only reason why it's going to happen is because that's what they're intending. So who's going to fight it? Because our government officials, here's what I know. This is the whole discussion. When all the world decided to give them 14 more days to give criminals who run the central banks, and they all know it, to launch their quantum system so that they could take over the financial system and from that point and continue to be in charge. And in the actual Singletary documents, it says that there's two options, right? That they'll either have an asset-backed system, which they can't do because they cannot access the trust, and that's where all the assets are. So they can't have an asset-backed system. So the other option, which I think was always the option, was to have a completely digital society with no hard currency. And now every single thing you do is tracked. You are now officially part of Big Brother. And luckily, under the meritocracy, they they are the new, and what they've done, if they control all the money and every transaction, they are the government, and
Right.
they've achieved their goal. So the reason why I'm like, you know what, I'm not gonna watch and wait the show. I'm watch and wait, right? I'm not gonna watch. I'm not gonna wait and watch the show, is because we're we're 14 days away from them fully implementing their plan. That to me requires a sense of urgency of like, get up wherever you are and go run through the streets screaming, because right now we need to wake up and do something. And this, we have to wake up government officials. We have to come together in strong enough numbers that we can't be ignored. And we got to stop bickering about dumb stuff that doesn't matter. That's the thing. It's like right now, I mean, just thinking
So
about it, it's
so let's
crazy.
say that the plan, the trust the plan part. Let's just say we're going to trust the plan for a moment, right? And they've had this well thought out for a long time, and they're using a quantum system. It's the Red Queen, whatever it is, and they've thought this out to this point, and giving them the 2 weeks has some sort of benefit to doing something, whether it's to get to a certain date or whatever. So this parallel of what's going on with the QAnon movement and the countdown that's happening is to get the information out for D-class, which then basically blows up the White House of Obama and Clinton and Uranium One. And it really just puts it out there, and that is a tidal wave of people flipping against the deep state, against and basically changing sides and coming over to the QAnon / Trump side / humanity side. I see that's where things are going. I think that's the push, is to get us to that point. I really didn't know until I spoke with you today that there was this 14-day, additional time frame that was about this is their last ditch chance to make this happen. I know from your video, I heard what you said, and I'm going, well, that's something. But it's just like the RV. It's another deadline that's going to be moved off. But no, you're saying that this is the time when they're actually going to try and implement their world agenda. And I have another little side piece of information. I'm involved with like moving very large Bitcoin transactions, or we're trying to make them go, where you have a big seller and a big buyer, and they're not buying on the markets because it will cause the market to fluctuate, and they're trying to keep the market down so they can take the ride up, and they pump it as they go up. And I just call these exchanges the casinos, because they just suck people's money out, right? So, so in the one of my partners in England, he basically talked with some of the regulated crypto exchangers that are there, and they're regulated entities right now, like stockbrokers are, and they are saying that there's something happening this week in the Bitcoin or the crypto space. And so I wasn't drawing any connection to it until we had this conversation, that there may be something that has happened. Now, I know I've heard that, there's been something brewing, and I know it's been artificially kept below the prices all this time. And I know the big buyers have been trying to buy it up, hedge funds, banks, all these types of things. So now it's playing out where it might be coinciding what you're saying, is they're going to try and make a push to make a worldwide digital currency.
Yeah, or several. I mean, even the way the USN and the TRNs, the SDR, all of them are going to be just digital currencies. They're all artificial digital currencies, because they always, these entities, they're fractured. The factions are all dividing and fighting each other, and they're all trying to get control. So they all have their version of what they learned over time that they're trying to implement, but the brains at the top of the pyramid are gone. So the brains who would feed them what to do, you know, is gone. And now the top of the pyramid is working against them. But they keep following the last orders they get. So they're the system, the echelon system, right? This whole financial system, it's cannibalizing itself because it was all they had all these siphons stealing money. So one of the things that we found out is they were stealing from everyone, every like Superman 3, right? Every
Oh, yeah.
fractional
The
penny,
quarter of a
you
penny.
know, right? But not just that, but everything. And they had all these penny accounts that were billions of dollars deep, right? Their banks they're insolvent, but they've got these secret accounts that they're keeping of your money and my money they stole. So Kim took about all that money and returned it. Now, I know that what's his name, Dick Cheney, right? Dick Cheney was in Fort Bragg, and he was the one when you had that big drop in Bitcoin back in December of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
When that big drop happened, that's Dick Cheney at the terminal in Fort Bragg, where they can also control the stock market. So think about it. Most of these controlled at these digital, Bitcoin things, these digital currencies, they were being he was able to drop and the market dropped. If you remember, it was like insane. It was like I forget what the Bitcoin was up to, but it was a
19,000.
test run. Yeah, and it dropped like 5 grand in a day or something, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was an insane drop. I mean, it was, and that was Dick Cheney. He did that. Now think about it. If it takes one random, you know, diabolically hateful old dude to go into an army base with a terminal and just and drop your stuff, that's what we want to put our faith in.
Right. Yeah, we
And
don't.
and,
Yeah.
and that's the thing is so the right now, and the reason why I'm so emphatic about this is there is a cosmic shift. This is true. There's a change and there's a choice right now. There's a real choice for the first time in history. I mean, because they can they they can say whatever they want. This woman has fought through everything for people, for you and me. She has she has not received a report. Everybody has turned they have never honored a single deal. That's the government, the Rothschilds, all these big shot business guys who all say they can help. They all stay loyal to the order. And then the next level will say you can't fight them; they're too big, right? And then after that, the government will tell you, oh no, we'll fight them, and then they'll chicken out, right? Because they'll get threatened. That's the kind of stuff that happens. So if it doesn't come from the ground up, if it doesn't come from us up, it will never change. And so what you have is you have Kim at the top coming down, and you have us growing up. And I'm telling you, I'm not sure how it's going to happen, but come hell or high water, that money is coming directly to the people. And Kim's attitude was like, you know what? She did all she could to work with the governments and get them to cooperate. And what she told me was, you know what? She did all she could, tracked every single transaction through the Department of Treasury. She funded the government. There's a process, and all they had to do was just to pay a 2% fee back to the trust, and we could have funded every humanitarian project in the world.
Yeah.
And they didn't do it.
I had a thought about that when, and just, strategically thinking, let's say, Trump wanted to pay that 2%. What was the trust going to do with it? Was going to push it out into the economy, right? They're going to do humanitarian projects.
Well, yeah. So what would have happened is there is two groups that are approved to, actually approve projects, right? So based on a production line, being like your guys in Somalia, um, that would create a production line, right? So the demand for that product, we would say, okay, here's the money for that product that they can produce it. It's now creating something. It's generating more wealth. For every dollar that goes out from grant money, it generates $15, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because it's generating something, it's doing something, people are working, things like that. So that's what would have happened. Yeah, I mean that would have been the goal.
What my thought about this is that they're trying to allow the economy to basically be kind of lukewarm, right? From not collapse, but just hold on until after the next election cycle, and then allow for it to collapse, and then replace it with the new system. Maybe they're trying to do it sooner. Maybe they're going to do it in the next year. But if they're trying to delay it, and the trust got that 2%, and then it proceeded, and that's a lot of money anyway, right? We're talking about a lot of money to move out into the system. That velocity of that cash flow could actually cause the whole system not to collapse. It would actually build up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, that's right.
Yeah.
See, Kim has been fighting, like we've been fighting to prevent the economic collapse.
Yeah.
They keep pushing it, right? Like think about it. Remember, like in the RV world, we would always say there has to be first an economic collapse. This is how bad it would be. That your most enlightened people who have done nothing but study the market and currencies for the past 5-6 years, the economy would collapse and they would cheer because they think that means the RV's here. Right. But in reality, they want to collapse the economy, and they can do it with or without the RV. But they want to collapse the economy, and then they always wanted to buy it back for pennies on the dollar. But Kim has drained them completely financially. She's taken over their system. They took all their fake money out of the system. That's why they needed Trump to sign in all that extra currency, right? So what you said is right. This will save the economy and save the world. But here's the most important part of it. It's a transition in power. She refuses to allow them to have any money, because what they'll do with it is they'll take it, put it to platforms, steal it back from us, right? All this money, if it filters through them, it never gets to us.
They'll just do the same thing as they've been doing.
Right. So the only way to win is the right group of people, the right group somewhere in the government doing the right thing. All of us standing up and finding ways, collaborating in different ideas. Because people call me with the same things. I'm like, what are you talking about? They'll say, well, legally we can do it this way. I'm like, you seem to think they consider themselves governed by the same laws you are, but they're not. You've got today an article came out with, like, mainstream article that Hillary Clinton clearly, beyond a shadow of doubt, covered up pedophile rings. It's in the mainstream. There's evidence of it. What happens? That's what I'm saying. You're building up to this big thing with the Q crowd, the 19th. And what's the build up? First of all, the fact that you're telling me about it, I know it's not real. Because if there was really a build up, you wouldn't put it out through Q, because everybody knows now, right? If you had a secret operation going on, you wouldn't do that. Never. You would military tactics in general. You don't know what happened until it's done.
It's kind of like they already did that for December 5th, right? There was a lead up, the countdown, everything was there, December 5th. And then it got flipped around. And so it wasn't what everyone thought it was. It actually ended up being a bad thing for, the cabal. They got into getting the envelopes, and everyone got focused in on why are they upset that they got these envelopes. So it just raised questions. So what is this one going to be? I don't know, but maybe it could go either way, right? It could be another flip on them, or it literally, this is the declassification, and this is the Inspector General report and the Mueller report, and all of it out, and now they start focusing on picking up the military tribunals and taking these people in. Maybe it starts, or it's again another delay tactic. Don't know.
I don't know if you ever talked to your CIA friend about this, but in the grand scheme of psyops and human psychology, the CIA had something called the Tomorrow Game, right? And the Tomorrow Game, they basically show that, all you have to do is just, you can get away with anything. Just tell people it's coming tomorrow, 2 more days, Wednesday. You give them a set date that they can focus on. And you know what people will do? They'll say, you know what? I can get through 2 weeks. I can get through 2 days. I can wait that long. That's what everybody does. But what happens? And you know what happens? Every single person who's been following the RV for any amount of time, they know exactly what's happening. You'll wait. You'll keep waiting. right? We'll keep waiting because I can wait that long because what's at the end we think is freedom. But what everybody wants is freedom. What everybody wants is to be able to, like you said, I want to be able to have an amazing idea and bring it to life. Why is that so hard?
Right.
It doesn't have to be. It's hard because the people in charge are against us and they think they're above us and they don't care about us being free. They're trying to control us. So our agendas are different.
Right.
They want to control us. We want to be free. The problem is they've been in control for so long. It's such a small amount of people of this massive crowd. So anything they say, we believe.
And they convince a
Hey,
big group that we're free, and that the choices that we're making are to be in a gilded cage.
right.
And so we're just going along, but now there's no money, and the money that we have is being taken, and so then the livelihood is going. So now it's like now everyone is starting to like it's the slowly boiling the frog, right? We're starting to get uncomfortable, but we're not jumping out of the pot. Right? So that's the waking up of people, right? You got to wake them up so that we can go and jump on what's going on. Now,
I love that example, man. The boiling the frog example is exactly what it is. Like that we should do a whole thing on just what is happening. Is everybody's being boiled and your eyes just keep getting bigger, but you don't realize. I'll tell you, it's amazing. They made it. One of the other things, the little side things they're doing here, is they made it legal, right, to have these cannabis dispensaries, right? Medical marijuana, and so now it's like everywhere, like they're just popping up everywhere. People are opening these little medical marijuana stores, right? Now, how messed up is this? They made it legal to sell it, to buy it and sell it and disperse it, right? But the banks will not allow them to deposit the cash made from this sale of this, right? So how is it legal, according to the government, to buy and sell and disperse this, but the banks are above the government and they said we won't accept it? Now here's why they did it. Here's the secret behind it, right? All these guys end up having these vaults, right? They all have, so now these cannabis dealers have these vaults full of cash, right? So what the banks can do, they can exchange their small bills, right? Because people are coming in and paying 20s, 30, $20, $30, $50. They can take their small bills and they will exchange them for $100 bills. And those $100 bills are $100 super notes, right? Fake money. So they'll basically go in, take their real currency, which is, actually legit. They'll give it to the bank, and the bank will give them back a whole stack of fake currency. And that's how they're laundering money through the cannabis dealers, right?
Okay.
They're doing things like that. I mean, these are one of the many ways things that are happening to everybody. I mean, this stuff's going on. Now you can imagine if 80% of the hard cash is fake, and the system is completely insolvent. The markets are, well, they can't. From what I understand, Kim's made it so they can't adjust them the way they used to. But there's only one option. There's we live and thrive together, or we. And this is what I cannot fathom. This is the choice that they just made. Kim has paid to keep the government afloat for the past year, or this other group that for the past 10 years has promised the RV, never delivered, killed countless numbers of people, right? They're 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 raping children, they're known pedophiles. This network, they went with, we're going to give you guys 2 more weeks. That means that there's no one there who actually represents the people. I mean, because it doesn't make, from any business standpoint, that move doesn't make sense. But even more so when you consider we're at the end, right? We finally think we have people cooperating with us, right? Q's making all these promises, all these great things are happening. But now you're here. What happened? And that to me is the part that's so heartbreaking about this moment. So I'm not one to get too impressed with anyone, but I gotta tell you, man, if it wasn't for Kim, I don't know what we would do. I'm so impressed with her integrity. She is standing up with nobody, even when they come to support her and then they pull out. I'm telling you, all of us, we all owe her a debt. We really do. And we're gonna win. We're gonna pull it off. But it's only gonna be a few of us, man. It's really gonna be just a few of us. And it's gonna force them at some point to acknowledge it, because they'll be, once we start funding projects, right? If we start funding projects tomorrow, if money comes in and we completely bypass their whole system, right, with legit asset-backed currency, we start funding projects tomorrow. You know what's going to happen over these next 2 weeks? We put money out for projects everywhere. People will be thriving, and everyone will start to catch on. Like, oh, so that's what I'm banking on. That's what I'm banking on.
So what? Well, I was just thinking as you're saying, how can we move these projects forward if we follow the same process as was already implemented through the World Bank, IMF, all this? Can't we just replace the current people that are in the World Bank and IMF and United Nations and start a whole new group someplace? Just another building, and say, hey, this is this department, and just roll with it. If you have the access to move these things in and out of the banks, you just replace those entities.
Yeah, so that's what I started, to be honest. That's why I set up the Guardian Camelot, right? Because, okay, so here, I'll give you an example. Take now, every member of the Guardian Camelot has a trust, so we say it's a trusted membership. Now, you could take an organization like that; it's unincorporated, tax exempt, right? And you just use that as a model, right? And so now we fund. So every member has a trust. Now we fund every trust, right? So now everyone within our umbrella, within our organization, has a trust that's funded with money for projects. Now, they could go out and say, look, we're we we have money for the projects. We're going to build this. You go deal with a construction company, which is going to be a $2 million bill. So you set that construction company up with a trust. You bring that trust into the same organization. Now I'm paying you within the trust, within the same bank, right? So now everyone's getting paid within the same structure. And what it does is it budges them out, so that all the money we use, it stays within the same structure. And as we expand out and more people are getting impacted and getting paid and moving money, their whole system ceases to exist, because they can't do anything. They can't get into it. Now they're trying to negotiate. They're trying to make ways in, which is what they're going to do. But we do it that way, and that will all operate within the same. You still use the Visa system that way. You can still use the cards, because that's all real-time gross settlement. So
I just
that's
realized.
how I wanted.
Yeah, sorry. Someone just sent me a message. I was actually supposed to be on a call.
Oh, do your thing, man.
So we're it's okay. We can it's not, it hasn't been we just kind of made it a rough timing, so we can finish up. Yeah, I don't know how long we've been going on here, but it's
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Hey man, go do your call, man. It's late. I didn't even realize. So
it's all right.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Well, I suggest that we continue. I don't know if you're up for doing a daily call, even if it's really just a 20-minute update. We might be able to. That might help out getting the word out if we be consistent, and we can start about the same time. Roughly, maybe a little earlier for you.
No, but yeah, we'll do that. Maybe we can hook up something. We try to hook something up live, and just bang it out for 30 minutes and talk and do updates and kind of like see where we're at.
So I think that might be good if we have a short window. I've made several commitments where I stay online, and I'll do it for like every day for 3 months. I've done that before. It just, if there's a good reason to go ahead and make a push, we should try and orchestrate that. So let's plan on something for tomorrow. We'll figure out the time later on, but then we'll see if we can get it consistent. But maybe not for hours, and we can try and keep it a little shorter.
Well, man, you know what? Let's plan it right now. Let's try to hit midnight tomorrow night, my time, Eastern Standard Time. That works, right, for you?
That works for me, yeah.
Okay, we'll do midnight tomorrow night. We'll do 1 hour. We'll bang it out, man. If there's a way we can do it live, I'd love for us just to go live.
Yeah,
that'd
we
be
can.
great.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can. We'll use Google Hangouts.
Oh, okay.
And stream live right into it, and you can. I'll set up the event, and then it'll be live, and then up to 8 people could join us.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to bring anyone else on, we can do that.
I'll see if I can get Kim to come on sometime if we're gonna do this for like, you know, I say we'll bang out the next 12 days and see if we can make a difference. I'm with it. I love it.
Okay.
So
Let's do it.
that's the game plan, man. Appreciate you. I will talk to you tomorrow night.
Yeah, join the revolution.
That's right. Fight the man. Fight the man.
Well, you know, I looked at the Rebel logo from Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I converted into a Q with a kind of like a heart, and in the middle with kind of an arrow. So
Yeah,
it's
that's cool.
kind of on the logo there, but it's really that whole rebel. You know, join the rebellion. Welcome to the rebellion. I took
That's what it is, right?
and put it on the
I love Star Wars movies, man. That's great. Yeah.
All right.
Get one of those. All right, later, Dan.
All right. Bye bye. Well, I hope that you were enjoying that interview. I found it very informative. I'm having a good time talking with Stefan about these things. And now I want to say, just add here at the end, please subscribe. Please go ahead and join us on this mission, really, to get this information out. It's highly important that you copy the link for this video and paste it on your Facebook, paste it on your Twitter, and ask others, just after you post it on your Facebook, put in your comment down below, or or both in the header, or when you add a link, saying, please share this. It's important. Please give positive comments. Please give thumbs ups. It's highly important we break through and get to the information that is important for us all. We all have to wake up. You know, where we go one, we go all. We need to start making moves, and this is why it's highly important. And I also would say, if you would like to support things that I'm participating in, I've started a Bitcoin mining operation called AbundanceMine.club. You're welcome to join me. It's going to be based on solar energy, off-grid completely, except where we connect to the internet for the mining. Then also, if you're interested in a grassroots cryptocurrency that is not market-based, that is only based upon the number of members and tied to the price of gold, I highly suggest you join in Kringle.Coin and just get a hold of a little bit of free coin that's given to you. It's about the value of an ounce of gold right now. So I would highly suggest you go ahead and just complete it. It's the only real thing you have to do is spend $10 for a lifetime wallet fee. But there's lots of promotions, so you can get lots of coin. I'll go put those links down below as well. So please, if you like to participate in any of those, let me help you earn in the crypto world, and then you'll be helping me in return. So thank you, and we'll look forward to the next video. Bye-bye.